Hey everyone, this is Lewis. Another entry to the Salient series. Today we're going to be going over the background layers, background image, video background, mouse base parallax. Pretty cool stuff. So let's go ahead and dive in. So I'm going to be, of course, going through Salient's documentation first, and then I'll be kind of going what he doesn't go over in later modules. On this module, we'll be going through the background layers. As you can see here, he gives Theme Nectar gives a really good picture of how things are kind of laid out, and then I'm going to give you a live demonstration of how all of this actually works. So elements placed inside the row. This is the top. There's a shape divider layer right here. There's a color overlay layer right here, and the background image, which is right there, and the background color, which is at the very, very bottom, right? So if you think about it, also this shape divider, it's a little, this is it can be, if it's brought to the very front, because you can bring it to the front, and I'll dive into shape dividers a lot more as we go along, there's also, I'm also going to be having a whole module on just shape dividers and the like on it as well. But this kind of gives you a good diagram, because sometimes the shape divider will also be kind of in back of the content or in front of the content as well. So let's dive in and kind of see how we can place everything. Okay, so this is my test site. And let's kind of make this a little bit nicer. We're going to go to the row here. And I'll do something like 1/6 plus 2/3 plus 1/6. And then we're going to move this content over here. And I like doing this with you watching, because I want you to see, one, how quickly you can make things look good, and how you make things look good quickly in Salient specifically. And a lot of it will have to do with rows, how you set rows up, and that's kind of, and the content, and what you want to, how you want to layer and style the content, the messaging first, because that's what's most important, right? The message first, then the design, so we can support the message. Okay, so the content, as you can see here, is usually the very, very first thing. It's also what you can refer to as the ZIndex, because that's a little bit more advanced, but I just want to let you know, because it is a function inside of Salient that you can kind of work with, but I'm not going to dive into it too much. It's just, the ZIndex is just like the different, there's a default ZIndex, which is just how things are layered. So if you want to bring something over something else, you can just type in a different ZIndex in different in the rows according to how you want to layer it. I'm not going to get into it too much right now, but just so you know that the layering is what's called the ZIndex or the ZIndex, depending on where you're from. And then now let's look at a color here, right? So, and let's make this full width. Actually, you know what? This will be cool. Let's go to background color. Again, this is the very, very bottom. Oh, let's do white actually instead. There we go. That way you can see it. Okay. So everything's kind of flush against each other. The background color is the very, very bottom of the layering, or the ZIndex. It's the very, very bottom here. So if you put a background image, it will cover this, right? So let's go ahead and put a background image here. And do that cool picture of the elephants. It's not going to look that great. Okay, so you see it covered the white behind it. It covered the white. Now let's do full width background. Let's see what that does. Okay, so it's still covering it, and it makes it full width background, but the content stays in place. So now so as you can see, but if we take away that image, that background color is still there. Okay, now let's look at, so here's the background color, here's the background image, the content is right there. Now we also have a color overlay layer. So let's say if we wanted this background here, let's say if we wanted and you want to think also, understand if things are landscape, because sometimes if this was a vertical picture, so it's going to have to stretch to really fill it out, and it's going to pixelate. But if we get a very, very landscape and wide image, it'll look cleaner, and it'll look more, it'll have more resolution where we want it to. Okay, and as you can see, that is actually nicer. But let's change the position here. Let's go center. See? And now we can really see her and the imagery behind it. But I want to give it a little bit more room up top, just so that it looks nicer. Let's go with 5%. Let's lock that. There we go. Beautiful. I love that. But I can't see anything. So what are we going to do here? Let's go ahead and add the third layer to the content, which is still underneath the content. As you can see, okay, this color overlay here is still underneath the content. So let's go ahead and add black. Oh, I'm sorry, no. Add white, because we have black lettering. As you can see, this kind of gives you a preview. Let's do medium. I think that'll look nice. Nice. Okay, that looks pretty cool. Let's also add a little bit of parallax just for fun. So, parallax backs image scroll, and there's two places to do this parallax effect. I'll show you. Nice. Okay, that looks cool. Now we click on this pencil. I'm sorry. Let's go and click on this column, and this is the other place to do it. It's important to understand that if you go to animation, you can do the background image parallax scrolling. Okay. But that is also if you want to do, let's say if we wanted to, you kind of have to think of it as like a picture within a picture, or a story within a story, or image within an image, right? So because this column is inside the bigger row, as you can see the blue here, the bigger row which covers everything, and the column itself. So let's add a background to just that column there. And what are we going to add? Since it's smaller, you could go vertical if you wanted, but let's keep it landscape. Save that. Now, let's do now we can do a color overlay with that as well. We can do white again. Do medium. Cool. Then let's go to animation. Background image parallax scrolling. Now we have two parallaxes. That's pretty cool. Sorry, my computer's a little slow. I have a lot of things open right now. But yeah, so you can see that's two parallax images inside itself. So based on the column, you can do it based on the column, and that means you can do a lot of cool stuff right out of the box. So hopefully that kind of helps you understand how everything is set up. Now the last thing, which I will go into in way more in depth later on. So if we go here, do shape divider, enable shape divider. We have all these cool shape dividers. Let's just do a straight section. And then we can do black. the bottom. There's top and bottom. And then let's do 2 pixels, something like that. And that's where I was talking about. You can bring it to the front or leave it in the back. And boom, it adds that black shape divider there. Pretty cool. Now, that is everything that you see there. It's from the content down. Okay, so just to recap, colors at the very bottom. If you put an image, it'll cover that color. Right now, technically, if you do a PNG, a transparent image, you could actually see the color again. Okay, that's important to keep in mind because these are truly stacked on top of each other. Then let's say if you just have an image, because a lot of times if you know what you want to do, you just bypass the background color and you just put a background image there, and then you put a color overlay so that you can see the wording. And then sometimes you add a shape divider to add different types of content and structuring. Okay. Now let's move on to background images. So an important thing to note when we have things such as a mobile, let's go to the mobile view. It's important to keep things very clean in mobile and very clear. So let's say we don't want that image in mobile. We just want it in desktop. This one here. Not the bigger image, not the background image, but this column image here. Go to that column. You go to click on background. And you click on this. And you would add an image itself. Okay. You can also go to desktop. You can also, there's also scaling the background image. You can lazy load, skip lazy load. Now, what I like to do is I like to add an image, and we can just add okay, and what I like to do is I like to add a color background that takes the place of something that gives it like a color overlay effect, basically. I've uploaded these two, and you're definitely gonna need to be able to do this because especially for mobile. Save changes. And something like that, right? Now, if I go to desktop, it's the same. Now, if I go to mobile, it is not. It is different, and this is what you want to do. Something like this so that you can read it properly, because you can't. You can hide the background image on mobile on a row, but you can't necessarily do it on the column itself, unless you know CSS. Right, so what I like to do as a workaround is just add on mobile, if you have text and you want to keep this, because you can also delete the background for mobile on a row. Let's see if we can let's see exactly what we can do here. Okay. So you can hide the mobile option here, but I don't like to do that now, because I like a lot of the pictures, and it still does a parallax effect. So what I do is I just add a background image there to support it and keep the overall background image, the row background image. So I just do the column itself, and then for padding, it inherits the padding itself, but let's say if we wanted it on all sides to kind of have a little bit of padding, right? And then there you go. It looks nice. Now, if you go back to desktop, it doesn't have that padding, which is awesome. So you have a lot of control, a lot more control than you used to be able to in Salient. Now you can make things look fantastic in mobile and tablet view. So again, that is a little bit of you have to have an understanding of Salient, and it's super important to have this understanding, especially if you want to do dynamic pages with dynamic images and still be very, very mobile friendly. It's extremely important. Mobile is huge. Okay, so I went over background mobile hidden. Allows you to optionally remove the background image from displaying on mobile devices. Background position. So I showed you the background position and background repeat. That's pretty self-explanatory. You will rarely ever need the background repeat. Like a specific pattern or something. I've never done that, but not to say that you won't do it or something like that. Again, this is a background position where you can move it. You just kind of have to think of the image itself. This is a centered image. And then for columns as well, you can so this is a column, this is a column, and this is a column. It's a 3-tiered column, right? So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 6 plus 2/3, 1, 6. Okay, and you can put a picture in each one if you wanted. So it's important to remember that there's different options for the column pictures. There's different options for the row pictures. You can scale the background image of this column, but you can't really scale it for the row. Okay, so that's just important to remember. Now let's look at video backgrounds. Okay, so this is very important to know, because sometimes a lot of people overuse the background videos, and it kind of gets it's getting a little tacky. A lot of times it can get tacky real quick, and it can dramatically slow down your end user's computer a lot. So you just want to be very careful with how you use video backgrounds. And for example, this YouTube video URL, you should almost never do that. One, because as it states here, there's no possibility of mobile playback. And two, unless it's a very short video, if it's like a minute long and you're just doing that, even a minute, which is rare for a YouTube video, a lot of the time, it's just gonna slow everything down dramatically. So you don't want to use YouTube video URL. I'll show you. I mean, it's pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory, but it's practically useless. Unless you have a specific video, but again, you can't. There's no mobile option for it, and it's not possible to have it working mobile. And a lot of times, if you go, they're like, "Where's the video?" So that's why we have to work with WebM files and MP4 files, and you're going to have to convert them for them to work on everything itself. So let's look at a video, and we'll actually just use because this trouble. Now I'll show you the right way to do it, or just the way to do it, just so you don't run into any of this trouble. Because you need to have both a WebM file and MP4 file, and like a boss, Theme Nectar already kind of gives you 2 online converters. That if you put your video into that, it will give you the right file, and you will be well on your way. So let's go to Pexels. Go to videos. Let's see if there is let's just find any old something landscape view, because that's usually what we need to use things for, especially on the website. Okay, so I'm just going to choose this video of someone using a Super 8. Just going to download that. This is just for example purposes. Okay, and then let's go ahead and skim this video, because the first thing you need to do before you do any of it for before you actually upload it anywhere is that you need to skim it down to the smallest amount that you possibly need it for. And this one's already 8 seconds, so that's actually pretty good. I'll just keep it like that because that's pretty damn good. And it's already 5 megabytes, which isn't too bad. It's not good, but it's not that bad. What I would usually do is I would probably put it in iMovie or Final Cut Pro, and then I would just downgrade it to 720p because 5 megabytes is still pretty big, but we'll just work with it for now. And then that is an MP4, so that's good. It's already in 1, but we need to convert that bad boy to WebM file. So let's go ahead and do that. This is a converter here, and let's see. Let's drag that into there, and it should be converting for us. Awesome, it's already ready. And let's see, where do we grab it here? And this is pretty cool. You can actually crop it and everything in here. That's awesome. Is it already? Okay. Sorry, I haven't used this specific one ever. So I probably should have just kind of downgraded the resolution, but oh, that's good. It's already kind of downgraded for me a little bit. And boom, okay, we got that. Now, let's go to, okay, we got 2. Sweet. Go back. Let's go back to desktop here. Then, let's see, I want, you know what? Actually, let's make a duplicate of this entire column here. And to make a duplicate, you click on that right there. Now, let's go and add both of these to our WordPress media file background. And we turn video background on. And then we add in these 2 places. So add media. I'm just going to add both at the same time. That way they're just both ready to be placed in there. Okay, and I believe the first one is an WebM file. Yeah, okay. And the second one is also, or it's not, is a MP4. And let's see here. Do we need to add all? Usually I just do WebM and that one as well, and MP4. But sometimes, yeah, but sometimes he recommends OGV, but I just do these 2 and it seems to be pretty damn effective. So let's go ahead and save changes. And sweet, look at that. It's a video file. Let's make it a little bigger. Actually, let's make it take the entire height row. So right there, it will scale to the same height as the browser window, which will look pretty cool. And put our content right in the middle. Sweet. And this will be available on mobile as well, which is pretty snazzy. Now, the last thing we will be going over is the mouse-based parallax. This is pretty awesome. I don't use it as much as I'd like to. That's just my own fault, but it is still a really cool feature that I wish Salient and Theme Nectar, the author of Salient, would use a little bit more in his demos. But I can understand it's a little bit more advanced, and it may not be as readily available to everyone. And he has his own tutorial, which is pretty awesome. You can, I'll go through it really, really quickly. That way you can just see how I do things. And if you need further clarification, of course, go to watch that video. So I grabbed this from Unsplash as a 3D render. I've already kind of prepared it a little bit. So what you have to think about is this is kind of, I think it's 1440, 1440 by 800, which is a pretty good row size. You have to kind of think of it as layers. The same way that you presented things, it's basically done all by layer, and you'll have to upload the background image and layer it based on like how you want it to interact with itself and interact with its different layers. It'll make more sense as I go through it. Okay, so I don't need this anymore. I'm gonna just eliminate that, and I'm just gonna make a Bitcoin NFT thing, right? So background image. So that is huge. Yes. So let's now, and usually I would convert all of these to smart objects, but I'm just doing this for your own viewing pleasure. So I do not want to waste your time. I'm trying to do this as quickly as I can, and just kind of give you an idea. So this is a layer. This is going to be one layer, and that looks cool already. Okay, now let's go to this one. This is another kind of NFT crypto thingamajig. And I'll just go ahead and convert it to a smart object. And then let's do that. Then just minimize that bad boy. And then, yes, crypto. Okay, where does that look good? Does that look good there? Okay, and then let's just, boom. And then now you're going to have to remember too, okay, actually let me kind of play with that a little bit. I kind of want to, ooh, that looks sick. That looks cool. I'm going to keep that. Boom, baby. Shh, that looks awesome. Okay, so now you are going to have to keep on how, like, yeah, you need to remember the layering style and the way that you layer them together if you want it to look how it is in your Photoshop file. So let's use these Bitcoins, and this will be the last thing here. Yes. Ooh, geez. Okay. Let's minimize that. And then bring it over here. Sweet. Okay. I should have made it a smart object, but I am lazy right now. Okay. So let's just do that. There we go. Cool. Okay. So a little Bitcoin pleasure for you. Okay. So coins. This is an NFT. This is Ethereum, I think. Ethereum. I'm just naming them so just to make it easier on myself. So phone. Okay. So first thing you have to do, I'm just gonna throw this in the trash, is the image, is the background, right? So so you need to save each picture, and then you're gonna have to stack them that way, just the same way that you stacked them in Photoshop. Oops, and you got to turn everything off because you have to save the images individually. So, oops. Okay, so export, does not need to be a PNG. It does not need to be, let's see, it does not need to be transparent. Other things will be needed to be transparent though, but we'll see here. Okay, so 1. See. There we go. Background. Okay, now let's add this one. Okay, remember this is gonna, now this is gonna, the rest are gonna have to be PNG because they're stacking on top of each other. And that's the other thing too, is that it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be pretty big a lot of the time. It's gonna be tough not to do that sometimes. So coins, and then the Ethereum logo, 250. So it's unfortunate, but it's what it's gotta, it's the way we gotta do Ethereum. I'm sorry if that's not how you spell Ethereum. And then just that last and final picture, export as, we'll just label this the phone, and there we go. Now let's go back to our site that we're making, and I'm gonna do, click update, and then we're gonna do another let's see, there we go. Now I'm gonna take this, see, I'm gonna take that background image off because you're not gonna be able to see very well. So yeah, so it looks like, word to the wise, if you want to, if you do full height row, you're gonna have to disable that to take off the background image itself of a specific column. And let's take off this cover overlay too. Okay. Now let's go back and add let's go back to the row. Let's go full height. Let's take this background video off. Save it again. That way we can make it static again. And that way we can start our mouse-based parallax. Okay. So let's take these off. And again, and this is kind of like the ZIndexings, where you have to enter the strength that will determine the strength this layer responds to mouse movement. Okay, so scene layer 1, and a note here: please upload all of your layers at the same dimensions to ensure accurate placement. That's why I'm having you do it that way in Photoshop, using a preset dimensions for everything. That way you don't run into that problem. So I'm gonna upload all of those. Okay, and now that we got everything uploaded, first things first is that one, is the main background image. We can always check with that right there. Okay, let's just add these real quick. And since the coins don't really touch the Ethereum, we can kind of layer both those kind of equally, so it doesn't really matter if it's 2 or 3. And then layer 4 is the phone. That one. Okay, so we should be seeing it. Oh, I'm sorry. And we got to clear the background color. Boom. Now, what we might need to do actually is, if we want this to correctly, we might need to actually take off the full height row. There we go. And then we might need to add 10%. No, actually. Let's do this. Let's take off the percentages and then just do the full height row. And that looks much better. Okay. So, as you can see, we'll update this. Let's exit out. It does this really cool mouse-based parallax effect. See? And everything is where it was. The layers looking good. The phone's looking good. Everything's looking good and pretty damn close to our Photoshop. And then you can always add a color overlay if you want to kind of increase the legibility of that. But look, so it's kind of, so it's pretty amazing, So that should be everything, kids. I am so sorry for how long it is. It's about 41-minute video, but I wanted to go really deep and really go through everything from background layers, background image, video, background, mouse-based parallax. So this is another installment for the Salient series for you to learn Salient and really understand it. I hope this helped you. Please comment with any questions, and of course please subscribe. It really gives me inspiration, and of course it helps me achieve my goals as I am trying to help you achieve yours. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, and please keep building. Please keep doing amazing things. Awesome. Believe in you. You can do it. Bye-bye.